Hello, welcome to the very first episode of our second show.
Oh.
This is not the Luzocast. This is our second podcast live show that we have for Loser Productions. We're very excited about it. We are calling it The Lateral, and it is a sports show.
And I'm going to say real quick, I am so surprised that name hasn't been taken.
Yeah, right?
That blows my mind that someone hasn't taken the Lateral.
I did some extensive research, and no one took it, because much like a real lateral, no one really does it.
Oh. My mind's just been blown because I thought that was like a mathematical term or like some kind of it's a sports term.
Yeah, so a lateral in sports terms is actually when a quarterback or any player from behind the line of scrimmage throws completely perpendicular.
It's going to be, I think, parallel or slightly behind.
Yes.
And I think
it can't be beyond that.
And the same thing in rugby.
Yeah. And that is what a lateral is. So welcome to our sports show. It's Krishna and myself, Arjuna, as the hosts, and Ravi will be our fearless producer,
our leader
here. Leading somehow.
I'm just here to produce and click buttons and look pretty. Let's be honest here.
Well, you need.
I know my purpose.
We
don't have eye candy.
Exactly.
Guys, come on. I'm blushing.
So you can see Krishna and I wearing sports shirts. Ravi is wearing a Chewbacca shirt. So
I see, which brings you probably to your next point.
Yes. So we are. We're all from. We grew up in New England, so we are big Boston fans. Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, and Boston Bruins, a distant fourth for us.
Yeah.
We play playoff hockey, but that hasn't happened in a couple years. So we talk a lot. We're gonna, that's our bread and butter. That we know the most information for Boston sports. So that's what we're gonna talk about. We live in Los Angeles though, so we will be talking about Los Angeles sports. I like the Dodgers,
at least a little bit,
and the Clippers. Hate the Lakers. Don't like the Kings.
I don't like any of them, but I like athletes on some of those teams.
Oh really?
Clayton Kershaw, yeah. I discovered him for the first time.
And we will hit on a lot of the big sports topics throughout the week. So this show will be our Monday show, airing around this time. We really haven't settled on a full time yet. We will let you all know though when we have our finalized weekly time. But yeah, I say let's get right to it. We're gonna have kind of 5 sort of segments for this show. Also, one more disclaimer: we're not sports professionals of any type.
Yeah.
We're fans, first off.
Yeah.
And it's very relaxed. We're very laid back. We're not touting here that we know anything more than you do about sports, but we're just gonna talk about it, have fun with it.
Drink beer on the side.
Have some beer, and just go for it. So we've kind of broken our show into 5 segments, and we're gonna start with the headlines, where we talk about the biggest sports stories of the week. So let's get right to it. First story that kind of happened earlier in the week. The NBA is moving the All-Star game because of a controversial bill that happened where it was. So interesting to see that kind of happen. It's being moved from Charlotte. I don't think they've announced yet where the game will be.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The specific bill called into question here is the one that limits, people of transgender from using...
It's the LGBT community. It's an issue of legal protections. So they've taken it away from the home of the Charlotte Hornets, and they will be moving it.
I will say it stays right in line with
Adam Silver.
Adam Silver's sort of... for lack of a better term, all-inclusive sort of policy. He worked really quickly with the Clippers situation, so not terribly surprising. I'm all for it.
Right, with Donald Sterling.
Right, Donald Sterling.
Who had the remarks that were recorded by his ex-wife released publicly. He was ousted by the NBA, and they have a new owner now.
Have they picked a new location yet? For the All-Star game?
I don't think so. I there's been some rumors it could be in Indiana, but I don't think anything is...
Bring it to Boston!
It's not going to be in Boston.
L.A. Fine, L.A. is second, so we can go see it.
So, I guess I don't think they've announced an area yet, but that will be something to monitor as we go forward.
Cool.
So, I think we both agree on that, decision.
I like it.
A little more local for us, the Boston Celtics... were, in the headlines during the Kevin Durant saga trying to get him. They did land Al Horford, giving him the largest free agent deal they've ever given out to a player ever.
Yeah.
4 years, $113 million. They've kind of filled out their roster. They've brought back big man Tyler Zeller on a 2-year deal. I think it's around $18 million, $9 million per. Good deal. He gets a little bit of a pay bump. He was kind of the odd man out in the front court last year, so it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do there, especially considering they've added big men. But it's not a horrible deal because you fill out your cap, you fill out your depth, and it is an option on the second year of the deal. So, and then also I think something you're really excited about.
Seriously.
They signed swingman Gerald Green.
Bringing back Gerald Green, I think, after 8 or 9 years. So he was drafted by Boston, spent the first year or two in Boston.
He was part of the big Garnett trade.
Right, and then I think he's bounced around to like 8 different teams.
He was actually out of the NBA for a little bit.
It was in China? Was he playing in China?
I think he was in China and whatnot, and some European leagues.
So the reason I am super excited about that is he's hyper athletic.
Yeah.
The guy can dunk. So he's a highlight reel waiting to happen.
Right.
He plays solid defense, and you would think that his athleticism is going to be a big bonus in Brad Stevens' system.
Yeah.
He's a career 36% shooter from 3.
That's correct. He's 361 for his career, and he averages 10 points for his career.
Okay.
He's a scorer, and that's one.
I score off the second on the second.
It's what the Celtics need. For me though, it probably signals the end for swingman James Young. I think.
Good.
I mean,
I don't have a lot of
There's not a lot you can say about him. He has had a lot of opportunity to seize a role.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't. I mean, even in the Vegas League this summer, he wowed at first and then fell off a cliff.
Right.
Again.
I read a really quick snippet that was interesting. James Young is gonna hope to do what Gerald Green has just done, which is sort of travel around, get some seasoning, and then maybe, become a productive role player later on in his career, perhaps.
Well, but I mean, so in his first, I have his stats up here, so it's not like I've memorized any of these. But Gerald Green, so he played his first 2 seasons with Boston. I mean,
good memory.
In his second year, he averaged 10.4 points a game. He was good. His high was in 13-14 with Phoenix, 15.8 a game. 48 starts, 82 games played.
Right.
So I definitely think he's a solid bench guy for that second unit, and they're just kind of adding further depth that they're going to need. They've definitely improved their team with Horford. A top player, one of the top players at his position to make this team better.
I'm gonna say it right now. Number 2 in the East, baby.
Well, so I won't go that far. I'm gonna go like number 3 or 4, and probably get to the second round.
Hey, listen, Jay Crowder's right. We ain't afraid of Toronto. Moving on.
Okay. So another thing to go with the Boston Red Sox, another Boston team. So Craig Kimbrell, who had a minor knee surgery, is actually close to returning. He threw a 25.
And God, do we need him back?
The bullpen needs it for sure. We've been struggling a little bit, with the Twins series for the Red Sox fans out there. So he could potentially return as close to Saturday, which would just be 3 weeks out from the surgery, which is the quickest turnaround that was projected. They projected him to be out 3 to 6 weeks.
Good for him.
Mookie Betts returned today to the Red Sox. As of right now,
Always need that.
They're losing and will probably lose this current game. But, he's back. The one problem with Mookie, he's having a problem with fluid in his knee, and the Red Sox have indicated they could give him more rest days in August.
Do you think isn't that one of those things where technically they could go in, drain the knee, and then he plays the next day? I don't know. I feel like I've heard of that procedure before, where guys have had like joints drained of fluid, and then they come back a day or 2 later to play, which is to me is completely like absurd. From a joint integrity and like health standpoint,
it's not healthy, and I think
Kurt Schilling's ankle.
I think what's really important for the Red Sox is you play him, but you got to give him rest, because if you're going to win in October, you got to make sure these guys are as healthy as they possibly can be, and that's kind of the idea with the bullpen. I'm a little wary of having Kimbrell come back on Saturday. 3 weeks after a knee surgery.
So you'd be okay with?
I would be okay giving him another week or two, but
okay.
I do agree they need reinforcements.
Yeah.
On the in the bullpen, and I think they should make a trade. And next Monday actually is the MLB trade deadline, and we'll be getting more to that more. And then finally, for our last New England bit of news, the Patriots opened up camp today with some early guys, and they've announced 7 Patriots starting on the PUP. The pup list, physically unable to perform. The 3 headliners being running back Dion Lewis, Julian Edelman, and Danny Amendola. 2 receivers and 1 running back. Pretty big parts of the offense. The other guys, 2 guards, Trey Jackson and Shaq Mason, guards that were drafted last year. Right tackle Sebastian Vollmer, and tight end Clay Harbor.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. This is a very, I feel, I could be wrong, but this is a very Belichickian New England type of thing. I feel like guys start on the PUP list all the time. Every
camp wide.
So it's like it's news, too. But it's not like right.
It's significant that they won't be there for the start, but they could literally come off tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like it can change very quickly. I think Gronk started last year or 2 years ago on the PUP, and was off by day 1 or day 2 or 3. But something that I've been thinking about with the Patriots when it comes to those top 3 guys with Lewis, Amendola, and Edelman, all 3 of them had off-season surgery. Lewis had the torn ACL. Edelman had the foot problem. So I could see a scenario where Belichick is thinking, I've got some deep numbers at wide receiver, or I have some guys at running back. Why don't I stash one of these guys? Like let's say Lewis doesn't progress. Not saying that he will, but I'm saying this is what Belichick's kind of thinking. Lewis has a setback, can't come in. The training staff and the coaching staff knows he won't be able to play the first 3 weeks. Well, it makes more sense then to keep him on the PUP through the regular season, which means he can't play the first 6 weeks. He doesn't count against the 53-man roster. Then you can bring him back after 6 weeks. I hate to say it, but inevitably you will have injuries.
Especially
two offensive position players. You bring him back. He's been 100% for 3 weeks. It can get into game shape. It can give you a late push, and that. The Patriots always have a pretty deep roster, and this year is no exception. And there will be some valuable players that are cut, like especially at wide receiver, maybe at running back too. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe one of these guys sticks on the pup for the first few weeks, especially considering Brady's out for those first 4 weeks. Not saying all 3 would be out. I mean, that would be unprecedented. And you would basically be seeding that first month.
Oh, I think our producer has a question.
Producer, what's up?
Hi, thing with Tom Brady. He's such a classy gentleman.
He's so
such a classy guy.
He's a classy
he's
guy.
so classy.
He's so.
Wait, hold on. He's so classy.
You're not read enough.
So basically, what? So if I'm understanding this correctly, a lot of the Patriots starting lineup.
So 3 of their offensive starters, which is 3 out of 11.
Huge part of their offense.
Right, is basically not going to be around.
Well, we don't know. We don't know that for sure. They're not there for the start of training camp. They could come off, again, tomorrow. It could be a few weeks down the road. It could be a few months.
So basically what you're trying to say is the Patriots Super Bowl this year, not happening.
No.
Playoffs at least?
I mean, it's always hard to say. I've always been very temperate with the Patriots, especially
week to week.
Well, especially with Brady's suspended, right, for 4 games,
Absolutely.
right?
That's
so that's 4 games. That's 4 games to get your season started. Anybody knows, regardless if it's sports or whatever, if you go into something in a negative light, right, which the Patriots are going into it, where their quarterback, Big Cheese Man is gone.
Big Cheese Man.
Cheese Man. He's the Patriots, not the Packers.
Those are cheese heads.
Yeah, we don't like those.
But as a team, you're going into this season.
Sure.
You're already in a negative light to the league, to publicity, to fans, to everybody,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
If they can make it to the playoffs this year, if they can win the AFC Championship, I'd be very, very surprised.
You'd be surprised.
Wow. I'd be insanely surprised. I would say paint me. What's that word? Paint me surprised. Yeah.
Well, I would agree with you. If they were in any other division.
So yeah, the AFC.
Our division is
their division is weak.
They're gonna win that division with Garoppolo.
So just to remind you, just to give you insight on our division that the Patriots play in. So the second best team in the division last year were the New York Jets. They went 10-6. They finally got a quarterback and they figured out everything. And quarterback is kind of considered, the most important position. They're playing hardball with their quarterback, who's unsigned still in July, a month before significant games are starting.
Terrible business.
They want to sign him to a 3-year deal. He wants a 1-year deal. They can't figure it out. Where they could be going in with no
Sign 2-year deal. Everybody wins.
But they can't come to this agreement.
They're not on the same
we're
page,
in late July. Camp is starting, and Ryan Fitzpatrick is not there. So, and this has kind of been the story of the division every year. And it comes down to that quarterback play, right? I mean, you have Tom Brady, but then the other 3 quarterbacks
Everyone
are
else.
Ryan Tannehill, who was converted from a wide receiver to a quarterback in college. Tyrod Taylor was the backup.
He sounds like every college student when they get out of college. You go to college for whatever and you end up doing something else.
Yeah,
that's
essentially
That's
what
Ryan
happened.
Tannehill.
That's
actually
basically
Tannehill.
what happened.
Yeah.
He went to
Like
be
me.
a wide receiver and now he's a quarterback.
Tyrod Taylor, who is kind of a smaller version of Michael Vick. He can run around a lot. And he can make some accurate throws, but he's injury prone.
But he's no Michael Vick.
Still up and down. And then for the Jets, as they don't have their starter, they have Geno Smith,
Oh god.
who could be one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL.
In the league.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
it would be, like Krishna said, in any other division, yes. But it remains to be seen. The Patriots are blessed with a pretty young core on their defense.
No, they're blessed with Bill Belichick.
And Bill Belichick, who is...
I
Amen.
feel like
Heads and above.
what would be kind of fun for a season, just as a joke. Take all the worst players, all the players with attitude issues,
Put them on the Patriots.
put them under his umbrella, and see what happens.
So that happened in 2000.
That would be the greatest reality show ever, and I would watch that.
So that actually happened, technically, in 2009 with the
Yeah.
Patriots. It was Brady's year back from the ACL tear.
Randy Moss.
They had the last year of Randy Moss.
that's right.
They had Derek
I
Burgess.
sadly remember that.
This was like one of the...
Great year.
And this is one of the worst locker room environments a lot of people report on
Right.
for the Patriots. And they went 10-6. And they made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's how bad the division. Well, I mean, 10-6 isn't a horrible.
They had
record.
gotten rid of all their defensive captains. So Teddy Bruschi, Ronnie Harrison retired. They traded Mike Vrabel and Richard Seymour. So they had no defensive captains. Their last defensive guy who had high character, Vince Wilfork, was in a contract dispute. So he wasn't 100% backing the team.
A great analogy would be all of your first generation Avengers are retiring or getting killed off. Now you have to rely on the new
spoilers.
people. Spoilers, my butt.
Somehow Krishna knows that the Avengers are going to all end.
I do know that.
in the
I've
comic
seen the
books.
future.
Anyway. If you like comic book stuff, check out the LuzoCast every Sunday at 4:30
Sunday.
p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Most weeks.
Most weeks. Yes. So moving on the headlines. So some of the bigger national news. Week before the MLB trade deadline, Yankees and the Cubs swung a big deal. They the Yankees traded their closer.
Chapman. 100-mile-an-hour fastball. Chapman.
I think he clocked in at 105 miles.
What this year?
Last week.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
105
Yeah,
miles?
it's
That's
ridiculous.
absurd.
Really great bullpen guy.
God.
But they traded him to the Cubs, and the Cubs had to give up a ransom for Chapman. They
I mean, good for the Yankees.
They gave up, I think, 4 total players, 2 of their top 5 prospects, including their stud shortstop and whatnot. I'm not going to pretend to know who they are. I'm not a big minor league MLB guy.
Well, I'm surprised.
But yeah, this just kind of goes with, I mean, the Red Sox have made a few trades, and they traded one of their top pitching prospects for a starting pitcher, and we're starting to see some of more of these MLB deals develop and go ahead.
Depending on what side of it you are, right? If you're a contender or you're rebuilding. So the Yankees, right? So I hate to admit it, but props to the Yankees. They traded Chapman, who is probably a top 5 reliever in the league. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, he's up there.
And they bolstered their minors, and so therefore they're building for the future. They're in full rebuilding mode. So that's a pretty sure sign that they're in rebuilding mode. They're building for the future, and I think you mentioned earlier that maybe Andrew Miller is next.
Yes, right, off camera, yeah. So they might be trading Andrew Miller. They have some other pieces they might be able to trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of happens with the Yankees and everything. They're out of it. They're an older team. They have a lot of guys on big deals. And we're going to actually talk about them a little bit later.
Cool.
So I'll save that for a little bit later. 2 more pieces of news, NFL related. J.J. Watt. This is a pretty big NFL story, probably the biggest in the NFL right now. J.J. Watt, reigning Defensive Player of the Year, herniated disc, out for 6 to 10 weeks. There's some conflicting reports. Some in the Texans organization are hopeful he could be back week 1. Other medical examiners are not as hopeful. He could miss 4 weeks, up to 4 weeks in the regular season.
Why not? So I'm confused here. I thought this is the
NFL.
Yeah, I thought the NFL, were one of the prime sports groups that are investing heavily in future technology, and so forth in terms of recovery times and so forth.
So
why haven't they figured out that yet?
So my whole thing is that's whole propaganda to try and quiet all the naysayers. They're not interested in fixing anything. The second thing is because first of all, there's no way to fix when you have a 300-pound dude running at full speed into another dude. It doesn't matter how good your tech is. That guy's probably going to get a herniated disc at some point in his career. So this is a normal thing for guys that big running that fast, colliding into other human beings.
Yeah, I mean, of the 4 major sports in the United States, I think football by and far is the most violent.
And the NFL has no interest in fixing it because they
it's what sells.
How many billions of dollars do they make every year? 10 billion, 20 billion.
Yeah.
The owners get rich. The players, the players are basically like pawns. They sacrifice their health. They put some bucks in these like guys' pockets.
Right.
So, but you know what? We watch and we pay for it. I mean, it is what it is.
I would like to point out I don't. I don't pay for it. It just happens to be in front of me, and I happen to watch it for some reason.
A passive observer.
Yes, I'm just a passive observer in life.
There you go.
That's probably the place to be sometimes.
So JJ could miss the first few weeks, which could affect the Patriots. Patriots versus the Texans. Week 2 or week 3.
Yeah, something like that.
So if he misses that game, I mean, that could help out Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, let's be honest. It's the Texans' best player is gone, and the Patriots' best player is gone. Hey, it's a more interesting matchup maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Or maybe a less interesting matchup.
We'll see. I mean, the Patriots. It wasn't a close matchup last year, so I guess we'll see.
And he was playing, right?
What happens there? I mean, it'll be interesting with that team. They have Brock Osweiler on there. Who knows how good he'll be? I don't think he's very good.
Rock.
So in the last headline, we have Josh Gordon, much maligned NFL wide receiver.
How long has it been?
I think he's been out of the league for 2 years now.
It feels like 10.
I mean,
it really does.
But he was the best receiver in football.
Wait, why was he out for so long?
You'll love this.
You want to hear? You want to hear?
Wait, I want to guess. Let me guess.
You have to guess.
I want to guess first.
Guess.
Here's my guess.
Why he's out of the league
For
2 years. For 2 years.
For 2 years. He left the league for 2 years because he discovered he has a knack for baking baked goods, and he wanted to get into the bakery industry. But he realized it is a cutthroat industry. It's very complicated, and the overlords that are secretly running the entire baking industry do not care about him as an individual, so he'd rather go back to a more compelling, loving organization.
So if by baked goods you mean weed brownies, you're absolutely right.
Weed and driving impaired, yes.
Yeah, he's all about the drugs.
He played 5 games in 14 before he was suspended the rest of the time, and he missed all of last year. He
sounds like my hero.
He's a lot of people's hero.
I mean, there's a lot of argument to the NFL about like why are you suspending players for? I mean, and not just the NFL, all leagues in terms of marijuana. It's being more legalized in the United States
because it's a stigma.
But not only that,
it's a huge stigma.
So go back to what we just said about the herniated disc, right?
Right.
And that there's medical evidence to say that marijuana helps with the pain management and the healing process potentially, right?
Right.
And there's such a fierce stigma against it, and a lot more ex-players and players right now coming out and being like, you can't ban the substance that helps us manage this pain that's inflicted by the sport. So it's a very interesting. So that's kind of like a subtext to this whole story with Josh Gordon and many other players, right, who are getting busted for marijuana. Specifically,
is it because the NFL as a whole and like at the end of the day they want to be a family fun group?
Yes,
correct?
It's that image.
That is
right.
the image
That
of all
sense.
the sports leagues.
Which is really hypocritical in a lot of ways.
So why?
That
That would be an amazing NFL if they didn't care about being family oriented. Could you imagine?
Well, yeah.
I would be more interested.
Or at least if the facade was down.
Watch the MMA.
That's true, actually. Yeah, the MMA is
It's
not
a great
family
point.
oriented.
No, they don't. They don't care.
cut back.
It is what it is.
There are some sports leagues you can find out there.
Maybe that's why I like MMA.
Maybe it's less. It's less pretentious.
So the most interesting fact though about Josh Gordon's reinstatement. So he is suspended the first 4 games of the NFL season. much like popular quarterback Tom Brady. Now, for most suspensions, when you're suspended, you can't practice with the team, you can't go to the team facilities, you can't talk to your teammates even. So, like, if I'm Tom Brady and I want to text Rob Gronkowski, like, hey, you want to go get a beer? Can't do that because he's a team employee. So
what happens if, like, Rob Gronkowski owes Tom Brady money?
Gotta wait till week 5.
That's... Okay, but then it's a hypothetical situation.
I owe you 50 cents, man.
So then Rob is kind of screwed over because what if they made a bet where it's like, oh, if you don't pay me, compounded interest?
Rob's
is the NFL going to jump in and
Rob
fix
shouldn't have
that?
taken that bet.
I mean, that's a personal matter that you know,
Yeah.
it's outside the league's caring.
Right.
If that makes sense.
But, so Josh Gordon, though, they have made an exception that he can practice and be with the team, which has outraged a lot of New England fans.
Yes, because, correct me if I'm wrong now,
Yes.
Tom Brady suspended 4 games, and they have come down hard and said, no contact, right? No contact, or is it no football
Well,
activities?
of course they did
Oh,
because
all the above.
he's the NFL's like giant scapegoat. Is it not? Is it not the
Some
case?
some people view it
Is,
that
thank
way.
you.
is Tom
Absolutely.
Brady not supposed to basically?
That's exactly what he is.
He's such a classy guy.
He's so classy!
So classy.
He
Is
didn't
it-
want to turn over his cell phone.
But is it basically like if you break everything down, like the fact that he's being punished so harsh, it went to this court, that court, this repelled, whatever.
Could go to the Supreme Court still.
But like at the very end of the day, isn't it basically Roger Goodell having, or in his mind, he has to set an example, and Tom Brady, because he's so well liked, so well known across the nation, not just with the Patriots, from coast to coast, he is probably
Internationally.
he is one of the biggest names. And if you are the commissioner of the NFL Network and you need to make a statement, are you not going to step on the biggest name in NFL history currently?
Yes, but Roger Goodell. Alright, I'm gonna give props to where props is due. Roger Goodell clearly does not care about his self-image. He doesn't care what he looks like, how dumb he comes across, how much of a moron he is with all of his facts and.
Is Roger Goodell the Donald Trump of the sports industry?
Oh, interesting.
I'm gonna.
I've actually never made that connection, but that is a fascinating thing to look into. But no, you're absolutely right, and that's what this whole story has been about. It's not about if Tom Brady did it or not. It's about Goodell maintaining his level of power. That's what the whole thing is about at this point. Is that it was written into the collective bargaining agreement, right, between the NFL Players Association and the owners, right, that Roger Goodell had sweeping authority to be judge, jury, and executioner.
Yes.
Everyone agreed to it, and that is what this whole thing is about. He came down with a ruling, which was very unpopular in New England. Outside New England, it was very popular, based on based on what side of the fence you fall, based on certain evidence that it was taken to a court, and the first judge, Berman, said that no, you don't have the right to do this. So at least in some of the judicial system's eyes, shaky evidence because it was overturned once, right? And it's about maintaining his power, that he decided that he's guilty and that he can dole out any punishment he wants.
Yes. Just so we can continue talking about this, but actually just to continuing the Deflategate type of conversation.
There we go. Actually, this is
we
perfect.
can get into our next section, which we call the scouting report, where we talk about we talk about some news stories actually with scouting terms, I guess. I don't know why we call
Or
it
old
scouting
stories.
report. Well, old stories, news stories,
Yeah.
whatever is kind of on our mind that week, and we break it down into what's overrated, what's underrated, and what's under the radar. So we start with overrated, and actually the story I chose.
So, actually, real quick. So,
Sure.
overrated, that simply means a
It's
story
in
that
the-
gets too much attention.
It's in the news a lot, and
Too much.
like way too much.
It's too much in the too much in the spotlight,
Yeah.
and it needs to go away.
Right. And I'm gonna go with this one as it's kind of wrapped up now, and it's been an 18-month process, and we just started talking about it. Deflategate.
Is your overrated story for this week?
Absolutely, and something that is so. There's nothing conclusive about it anyway.
Right, but to be fair though, with Deflategate,
Sure.
it's Fells.
Absolutely.
And sell. Like, I mean, I when it comes to you guys, right? Like, you're like way up here with sports. I'm like
really.
way down there. But
We're closer than anything.
I can still get my blood boiled over the Deflategate.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
And honestly, the closer that we get to the 2016-2017 season, it's gonna get way worse. It's gonna be all over the place. I can imagine, and it probably will happen, is every preseason game, regardless of the teams, every actual game, once Brady's been suspended, it will be brought up in every single newscast.
Those first 4 weeks for sure.
It's gonna be non-stop Brady.
Yeah.
And if Brady listens to this, or anyone that knows Tom Brady, please during your 4 weeks off, pick up some advertisement deals, pick up some podcast deals. We'll give you $5 to come sit on the show and just hang out and talk.
That is $5 more than anyone else will receive.
We'll even provide you with the beer.
Yeah, exactly.
$5, free beer. Come hang out.
He's from San Mateo.
We'll put you right here.
We'll put
He's
you
from
right
San
here.
Mateo. That's his hometown.
You can't talk to your team? Talk to us.
Talk to us. We'll talk about whatever. What do you think about Ben Affleck as Batman?
I'm sure he has a lot to say, actually.
Everyone's got a lot. But so, I mean, and I think you said it perfectly, Ravi. The story, even though it's quote-unquote now, that there's nothing really else to talk about, Brady has been suspended.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. These first four, and this is that's why it's overrated. That's why I'm so sick of talking about it in every sense. It's gonna continue. Those first 4 weeks, Garoppolo is starting because of Brady's out.
Do you think in the course of we're going into training camp, obviously, then we're going into preseason, then we're going to go into the games. That's a course of from now until essentially the season really kicks off. Was it the second week of September?
Yes.
First week.
Yeah. Second
right.
week of
Perfect.
September.
So between now and then, do you think new evidence will come to light?
No.
About Deflategate?
No. It's not about the evidence, though, at this point.
Or either new evidence or, hey, maybe this is going to go back to another court. Do you think anything like that may come up or be talked about?
Yes. So that could happen because Brady has allowed the NFLPA to continue fighting it and potentially take it to the Supreme Court as it's now a labor issue.
Supreme Court.
As it's now potentially a labor issue.
The times we live in.
Between the Players Association and the NFL. All I can say on that front is that it doesn't go away because that story, if it goes to the Supreme Court, that continues for years, and then it also bleeds into 2021 when the current CBA is up, and I am sure this will be a big issue. This will the commissioner's power and everything will be a big issue on the table for the CBA. So, and Deflategate will be consistently reported on and forever. The thing with new evidence, even if new evidence comes out, everybody in the United States of America has an opinion, and no one's opinion will ever change. You either think Tom Brady is the most innocent man in the world, and has been unfairly punished and prosecuted, or you think he did.
Everyone else.
And there's no and on that point, there is no debate. You can talk until you're blue in the face on either side of whatever you think.
Yeah,
but you're not going to change anyone's mind.
Yeah. Actually, so just to offer a slightly alternative point, I don't think it'll actually be as bad as you're thinking, only because we've been dealing with it for so long. I actually think it might not be as crazy in terms of media coverage and talking points as it was a year ago or right after it happened during the Super Bowl.
Right, because this is the second season.
Yeah, exactly. At this point, we know it's done. I think we all knew it was going to happen in some way. I don't think anyone's terribly surprised with the outcome, right? No, I don't think anyone's terribly surprised. It might have been a bigger story if Tom Brady had won and got to play the 4 games. Maybe then it's slightly bigger, but he's serving the suspension that Goodell doled out to him. He ended up, Brady himself decided not to go to the Supreme Court. Obviously, the union is doing that. We'll see how that shakes out. But, I actually think, what's the word? It's almost like coverage fatigue. I think at this point, maybe there'll be some, but I don't think it'll be overwhelming.
There's nothing new to report.
Right.
There's been nothing new to report
in months.
Since 17 months ago, essentially.
So yeah,
almost 2 years.
The developments in the case and whatever, sure, but it's been so little that they've stretched out.
Personally, I can't wait till Sony makes a movie about this. I will go to that midnight premiere. It will be such a great movie.
Wait, do you think Ben Affleck plays Tom Brady?
Oh my goodness!
Wait, that would be the greatest. Hey,
how do
Tom Brady should play Ben Affleck, appearing on Bill Simmons' any given Wednesday. Or
That's
if
perfect.
that's
That's perfect. Why
Oh,
can't
man,
let's
just switch
start
it.
that going?
That
Let's
would
get
be
that going.
Tom Brady
We
will play
gotta
Ben
make this
Affleck.
happen.
Why can't
The
we?
Lateral's gonna make
Who's gonna
this
stop
happen.
us?
One final note. This will be the first NFL season since the 1997, the first opening week. Where
That was like 20 years ago.
yeah. So since with that, neither Peyton Manning or Tom Brady will be starting week 1, as Peyton Manning has retired and Tom Brady will be suspended.
Two legends.
That's
Two-
amazing.
Two arguably of the greatest football players.
Wait. There is a Manning though, still starting.
Eli.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Eli.
but still a Manning.
No Peyton though.
But no Peyton.
But still some Manning.
So because
Nobody cares about that,
one or both of them have started in the opening week of the NFL since
For a long
'98,
time.
since Peyton Manning was drafted.
You know,
Interesting
Eli
fact.
has won a Super Bowl, right?
He's won 2 actually.
Against the Patriots.
Right. So he still counts.
I believe he's solid. He'll be a Hall of Famer. Christian, let's get to your overrated
All
story.
right, so my overrated story that I'm kind of sick of seeing, and I think it's been reported on a lot.
A lot of
is-
opinion pieces.
A lot of opinion pieces is Kevin. So switching gears, we're going to the NBA now.
Basketball.
Which is, basketball is Kevin Durant to the Warriors. So obviously huge story. No one can deny that. One of the top 5 players in the league going to one of the top 2 teams in the league.
That has 3 top 15 players.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Already.
So yeah, it happened, but I don't. The reason I think it's overrated and a little bit overblown.
Haven't seen any games yet.
Haven't seen any games. Kevin Durant is certainly not the first player to do this, nor will he be the last. LeBron James.
LeBron James, Russell Westbrook.
Across
Blake
all
Griffin.
sports.
Yeah.
Ronaldo going to Real Madrid. Across all sports, this happens. And
Yeah.
Kevin Durant has been painted into this sort of villainous person. Like, it's funny, right? We rag on our athletes because we're like, all they care about is money. Now, I'm not going to say money is not an important part here. I'm sure there's he's still getting a max deal. But the other side of it is we say that they care about money, they don't care about winning. So now when a player decides to up from his team and go join the best team, he's going to get vilified.
Villainized.
Like the whole thing is like a little backwards.
Happened to LeBron.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Is happening to Kevin Durant
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
I think people need to take a step back for a second and realize, for these guys, this is their job.
yeah, and that's what people forget.
This is the thing. If I get a job offer
Please
where
tell
I
us.
get more
Yes,
money, I'm out. I have no loyalty.
Wait, what about
Hey.
this? What about this? As an aside, let's say you work for a medium-sized company, and then a big company who are you gonna take that?
Of course I am, because I've done that in real life. Because
Thank you.
with that bigger company, there's more opportunity. You learn more. There's more room for growth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we want to be about personal growth.
Yeah.
I get where people are like, "Oh, you're a salad, blah blah blah," but I agree with you in the sense that yes, he's moving his career. What's wrong with that?
Rabbit, but here's the even crazier part, right? About taking more money. He technically took less money to go to the better team. If he had stayed with his current team, he would have got more money.
And more
but
years.
he went to OKC.
Well,
no, I'm sorry. He went to Golden State
From OKC.
From OKC to try and win a championship. So that would be like. So now let's take your analogy again, right? So
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I want to go in my position. I'm whatever.
Trying
I'm
to win a
like middle.
championship?
I'm middle management, whatever. Right. I'm trying to go up because I want to be upper management.
Sure.
Because I want to go and push whatever
Right.
team to the next level. So yes, he's doing what we all want to do.
Right.
We want to push to
Yeah.
that next level.
But he's an
he
athlete.
took.
Right, exactly.
That we worship and
It's
love.
just.
This is how bad it was. OKC fans, right? And
Burning
there's this is the scariest one. So obviously the jersey burning, which
Yeah.
is normal, right? They're also like I saw a video on Instagram of these 4 dudes who put Kevin Durant's jersey like on a log. Then they sat back like 30 yards away, and 4 of them shot that jersey with like semi-automatic guns. In today's climate, that is not okay.
No.
It's just straight up that is not okay. But that's how angry these fans were.
But that's and that's disturbing. And maybe we have another podcast where we just talk about the disturbance of mankind right now.
Yeah, actually, that'd be a great
It's a
podcast.
perfect title.
That's seriously disturbing.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
take a half step back. Don't even take a full step. Take a half step back.
Sure.
It's sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is sports. I understand.
It's
you're very-
entertainment. It's entertainment.
I understand you're very passionate about this, but you need to take a half step back and realize if you are that upset over sports,
Yeah. You have a pretty.
you need a new hobby.
Yeah, you have a damn good life. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you need more important. Maybe you need more, pressing things to worry about than
Seriously,
Kevin
that's
Durant.
Yeah.
No,
That's crazy.
I understand.
Take
I
a
understand.
step back.
It would be like
Tom Brady quitting, going to
Yeah.
the Colts.
going to the Colts, going to the Steelers, going to the Giants.
Stomach dropped a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I understand it.
But I wouldn't burn a jersey.
Right, because that's
Yeah.
really good clothing, and
It was expensive.
Yeah.
Not only that,
you spent $100 on those
But
jerseys.
let's,
Don't burn
for
that.
example, let's say Kevin Durant, he goes to the Warriors, they win their championship, whatever, right?
Mhm.
That jersey from his previous team, that's automatically worth money.
Yeah, seriously.
That's how we think, people.
Seriously.
Money.
But,
money. And
Alright.
then you can use that money, buy his new jersey,
Buy the New Jersey.
right?
Yeah.
And then you can go buy yourself some Chinese food. Win-win.
East Coast Chinese food, not West Coast.
Yeah, West Coast
don't
is
get it out here. It's
disgusting.
it's not unless you're getting no. I'm sorry. Never mind.
It's another podcast, a food cast.
Fruitcast. I'm coming with all kinds of ideas. All right,
All right,
moving on,
so now we'll get on to our underrated stories, and Christian, we'll start with you. What is your underrated story?
So opposite of overrated, underrated story is something that is out there, but perhaps it needs a little bit more attention. So my underrated story
Probably
is
the best one.
I think the Olympics in 2016 possibly getting canceled. Now this has received coverage, right? But I'm going to argue it has not received the kind of coverage that it should. This is the 2016 Olympics. Now, the reasons are for it getting canceled. The Zika virus. That's number one. Zika virus is it's spread by mosquitoes. It leads to
Yummy,
fevers.
my
At least
tummy.
it can lead to death. A lot of athletes are very worried about the Zika virus. The other things that are affecting the Olympics are sanitation. There is pollution. There is in the water all around.
Wait,
Uncollected trash being
Sure.
fed into the rivers.
to sum it up, though, Rio, Brazil,
Mhm.
terrible place.
Yeah, well, this is not helping their image. Some other things, there's political instability, and there's an economic crisis, and then there's a huge security issue. There are infrastructure concerns. So these are all just like candles on the cake. The biggest thing though is the Zika virus, and there are many publications and experts coming out saying the 2016 Olympics
Needs to be canceled.
at best case scenario need to be delayed.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you have to cancel them. Now, this has big implications, right? There's a lot of money going into the Olympics. There's sponsors. There's all kinds of
TV deals.
TV deals.
Absolutely.
NBC, I think, would. I'm not saying they would go bankrupt, but my God, that would hurt them a lot.
Yahoo just sold.
Yahoo sold.
Sold
Yahoo
to
was sold to Verizon,
Verizon.
this morning.
Oh,
for
interesting.
$4.8 billion.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Um,
They're also getting AOL out of the deal too.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, Yahoo's getting AOL?
Yeah.
Wow. Who would have
Well,
seen
no,
that? 15 years
Verizon's
ago?
getting it.
Verizon
Oh.
getting both. Yahoo bought AOL a
AOL.
while ago.
Oh, okay.
Yahoo
gotcha.
owns a bunch.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Getting on a
Yeah.
tangent.
Sorry.
The other huge point in my opinion, this is bigger than even money, is that the Olympics only come around once every 4 years. There are certain athletes who are amateurs. Most of them are amateurs, unless you're on the U.S. men's basketball team. Amateurs who train for this moment their entire lives. A lot of them are anywhere from like 18 to 24.
Younger.
So, well, I don't know what
For,
the
like,
age limit
for the
is.
gymnastics and so forth.
That's
Yeah,
true,
They
right?
do go
Very,
That's
younger.
very
right. You can go
Yeah.
younger. They're never gonna get this moment again. They're for their
Potentially.
respective.
Potentially.
There
Well,
are some
no,
that
but there
will
are some
never get
there are
this one.
there are some
Probably
respective
the vast
sports.
majority, though.
Yeah,
will
the
not.
respective some sports,
Yeah.
your window to compete at that level as an amateur
Mhm.
is so small. So if this Olympics is canceled, that's it. They're not going to compete at that level ever again. They'll become a coach maybe, but they'll never compete at that level. So there's a huge. That's what if the Olympics get canceled, that's a huge generation of athletes that you don't get to. You don't get to see the next Michael Phelps. You don't get to see the next Usain Bolt. And those are huge, two iconic athletes.
But to be fair though,
Yeah.
but like the chances of the Olympics being canceled in less than 2 weeks. It's August 5th is
The start date.
Is start
I
date.
believe that's correct.
The
yes.
chances of that happening are, I don't know, 5%.
You're
at
saying
this
that
point.
they're very small. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
But the fact that they could, and until we're there, you never know. And like I said, it's not just the Zika virus.
Mhm.
There's a bunch of other problems. Who knows? It's not the most stable area.
I definitely think there's a lot of concerns, obviously, there. And even if the Olympics do go through, which they most likely will, there's still those concerns. Could potential games get canceled where you're having athletes come and then they can't do their events because, for whatever because of the multitude of reasons, because there might be there's the virus outbreak or this or that or whatever, and the instability there.
Well, Australia, they landed, I think, yesterday morning. They landed in the is it called Olympic Village?
I think it's Olympic Village or
I forget what the
town?
village is.
Olympic,
Yeah,
whatever it's called.
Champion Village.
But there are videos out there circulating online of them checking out their home for these next couple, for a month essentially, and there's water leaking from the ceiling, toilets backflowing with sewage. They're basically, there's articles that are saying, I think it's called Olympic Village, is uninhabitable essentially.
That's bad.
I'm not gonna, not to be I'm just gonna say it. It's not correct or whatever, but I swear if a U.S. professional basketball player catches the Zika virus, I'm gonna say right straight up, the U.S. team is probably pulling out.
You think so? All sports?
Definitely the basketball team. I think potentially the whole thing.
Well, so that brings up to the other point though, is Russia, right? Russia has been indicted. Indicted is the word? Or they've been accused of
I think they were cleared.
Steroiding their team, and then the last thing I read was that Russia may not be using any team, or all Russian teams were banned from the 2006
It's a crazy Olympics.
According to CNN,
7 Russian
swimmers have been banned from Rio amid the doping.
So the doping scandal was crazy about that whole thing, and once again we're on a tangent clearly.
No, it's still Olympics.
The craziest thing is it's the Russian government.
Yes.
That's like, hey there, here's some dope. Get it up.
Actually, so drug testing for the Olympics. Drug testing for the Olympics is very backwards.
So what's John Oliver had a thing on
so great
where he showed what they have to do, and it is horrifying.
Go check if you haven't seen it. Go check John Oliver. What's his show?
Last Week Tonight.
Last week tonight.
Great show. One of my favorites.
Look up the segment for Olympic drug testing. It is fascinating, absolutely fascinating,
and it's all true, which is scary.
That's the worst part. Yeah.
Very scary.
Yeah.
So that's my underrated story.
The Olympics are scary, and I don't think there's anything really more to add to that.
Nothing much to say.
So my underrated story actually kind of relates to some of the baseball topics we've been talking about. Actually, the headline of the Yankees trading their closer almost confirms more of this for me. The Yankees are thinking, apparently, reportedly, according to CBS Sports, of moving on from Alex Rodriguez and Mark Teixeira. Two of their marquee players have been marquee players for the last many years. I mean, they were big parts of the 2009 World Series run. I think they're two of the older players there and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes to fruition. I think the Yankees are in selling mode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, according to CBS Sports, they could completely just cut them, eat their
Teixeira and Rodriguez
and A-Rod.
Oh my god.
So according to John Heyman from CBS Sports, some New York Yankees people have discussed whether, if they decide to sell, they might consider releasing great veterans Mark Teixeira and Alex Rodriguez to get on with the rebuild. Especially now with the Chapman deal, they're getting some top prospects in there. Play them.
Blow it up.
If you are in rebuilding mode, give the young guys some playing time. And that's kind of what's helped going to our Boston roots. What's helped with the Red Sox? The young guys like Mookie and Xander, JBJ have been given playing time in the last 2 seasons where they've been out of it.
Yeah.
After they've traded veterans, and that's why they're performing the way they are now.
It's paying off right now for sure. That is pretty. And the reason, correct me if I'm wrong, the reason that it's so underrated is that it's the Yankees. The Yankees are like the Lakers. They're they go out and they buy players to win now, which is the most fascinating part about it, right?
The Yankees have around but closer to a quarter of the World Series titles, and what's crazy about that is baseball's been around for over 100 years.
Yeah, it's the oldest.
So we're talking about a lot of World Series titles.
27?
Yeah, it's a crazy number how many they have. And because
26, 27?
And they've been able to buy generally their teams, but that hasn't worked out for them the last few years.
No, it's been horrible.
They need some youth. they might be letting go 2 of their biggest free agent signings. I mean, they lost
That's
Robbie
crazy.
Cano a couple years back, so
So the significant part of it is almost a change of philosophy.
yes,
You're letting. It's almost like it's very poetic, right? You're letting go of the old philosophy. They bought, they bought A-Rod and Teixeira on huge, massive free agent deals,
yeah,
and now they're letting them go, hopefully to replace them with youth,
yes,
like prospects that they're going to develop in house.
yes,
a
and
very
have
philosophical
received-
change.
And then they are receiving in these deals,
Yeah.
But we'll see if they trade Miller and they trade some more of their tradable, sellable pieces.
What would George Steinbrenner be thinking right now?
I think. I mean,
This
he
is
wants,
not the Yankees he knows.
right.
that's
He
for
wants
sure.
to. He wanted
That
to win
is for
every
sure.
year, and that's why he would just pay for it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different. It's
Good-
definitely
good-
different.
Good for George.
So now we'll move to our quote unquote under the radar story, which is a story that is
Out there.
sort of out there, but could develop into something bigger.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the story that we're talking about that is the story, but what could develop into a bigger story.
Cool.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. My under the radar story. I'm gonna go with back to NBA. I actually think it's Joel Embiid actually playing this year for the 76ers. So Joel Embiid was the number 3 pick like 3 seasons ago. A very talented center in college. Has offensive moves. He's athletic. And then he's been out the last 2 years due to injuries. And this year is the first. And, he was drafted under the old regime of Sam Hinkie and the process, his philosophy of tanking your team, losing games, not on purpose, but you're not trying to win them. So semi on purpose, as much as possible to draft as high as you can, hopefully in the lottery. And Joel Embiid was one of those picks under that regime. So now he is going to be playing this year, and I think it's big for several reasons. So the 76ers have been god-awful the last couple of years. They also have a logjam at the 5 position, let's be honest. They have 3 3 centers who are all high draft picks, so they all would want to be commanding some minutes. And there's only so many minutes to go around. They have Okafor, they have Noel, and then they have Embiid. And from what I've been reading and hearing, they want to keep Embiid. It's either Noel or Okafor who are out. So that they're pretty set on Embiid. So the reason I think it's a little bit under the radar is if Embiid lives up or surpasses his number 3 overall status. What's interesting about it is that Sam Hinkie was let go. The owners decided your process isn't working, or it's not getting us the results that we want, or we're losing the morale and support of the fans. We have to go in a different direction. If he does well, it leads a lot of credence to that old regime, Sam Hinkie's process, his idea. And if he blows it up, having a good rim protecting athletic 5 is it's outdated way to build your team, right? A center who can't play away from the basket, but who's athletic to defend the rim, blah blah blah. It's still not the worst way to go around building your team, I would say. So if he works out, that could develop into an interesting story at the very least.
And I think the even more what you said with Noel and Okafor, one of those guys could get traded, and one of the biggest teams that keep coming up is the Boston Celtics. And so it'll be interesting to see if one of those guys do get traded, how their year or career goes versus
the whole
Embiid,
thing, yeah.
and if the 76ers made a mistake and everything like that. So I think it is a cool story to kind of see, especially if they go to a team that's kind of contending that needs another piece or so, and they blow up into a superstar. The guy they trade away, and then the 76ers have made a mistake.
Yeah, that would be bad.
By getting rid of one of these guys. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, so that's my under the radar.
So my under the radar is also, again, associated with baseball, kind of going back to, again, what the Yankees gave up or received for Chapman, what the Cubs had to give up, what the Red Sox had to give up to get Pomeranz. And that is the cost of pitching at this trade deadline. We are a week away, and so those are the 2 biggest trades that have been made for pitching, and it is astronomical. I feel like compared to other years, it is at an all-time high.
Even more so.
For starting and bullpen help. I mean, even let's go back a couple years when the Red Sox traded Andrew Miller, one of the top bullpen guys, to the Orioles. They got Eduardo Rodriguez, who has turned into a good pitcher. Right, it was good last year. It's been so this year.
Up and down.
He was just a middle prospect for the Orioles. He wasn't one of their top prospects or whatnot, pitching wise. So it's interesting to kind of see now that the Cubs, for example, had to give up 2 of their top 5 prospects for a guy that has not agreed to, could be a 3-month rental.
Wow.
You know,
that's a lot.
Or the Red Sox gave up their top 18-year-old pitching prospect that people call Pedro Jr. For a year and a half rental, potentially, and a guy who has lost his first 2 starts with the Red Sox. So it's just, what are we going to see in the next week? I mean, there's the rumor that Chris Sale could be up because Chris Sale, the Chicago White Sox ace, was suspended 5 games because they were supposed to wear a throwback uniform, and he got into an argument with management, and he ended up...
that's a funny story.
It gets even better than the argument. He got into an argument with management, and then he went and he cut up all of the uniforms.
That's smart.
They scratched him from the game, and then they suspended him for 5 games. So there's some disharmony there.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. And there's been a lot of rumors. The Dodgers have been a top team that could be in contention for sale with Clayton Kershaw, their ace, having some injury issues right now. So it'll be interesting to see if Sale gets moved. And if he does, what does that team have to give up? Do they have to give up their entire farm essentially for
sounds like
Sale?
It really sounds like
so,
it. If the cost is that high, and starting pitching is incredibly important. So.
It's incredibly important, and at this trade deadline, it's incredibly expensive.
Yes.
So that'll be interesting to see next week, and next week's show will be very MLB trade deadline heavy, as that will be the day of the deadline. Cool. We'll see if any big. I guess it won't be heavy. I guess if no big deals happen, but if some big deals do happen, like some people expect, we'll be talking about that. Cool. So that's it for our scouting report. Now we're gonna move to debate time, where Krishna and I have each chosen a topic to debate about.
And we generally do agree. So if Arjuna says something and I agree, I'm gonna try and take the other side.
Sure.
We don't have to spend too much time on this.
Sure.
But,
I'll go on the other side.
I'm
very good at BS.
So you help the other person with the other side. That'd be fun.
Easy.
All right. So Krishna, let's start with your debate.
Okay.
The moon landing was fake. What?
Interesting. Don't tell our mother that. Anyways, so I guess my debate, NBA centric. I'm very NBA centric today. I apologize for any non-NBA fans.
I apologize to all the kids.
Ravi's a huge NBA fan. Don't let him trick you. So I guess the question is: do the Warriors win the championship next season?
No. Next question.
Let me ask you this, Ravi. Okay, This is how I'm going to frame the question. If one of the top 2 teams, arguably the best team last year, adds a top 5 player,
Kevin Durant
to the team, you would think they're probably going to win the championship.
Statistically speaking, yes.
Yes,
Matt,
absolutely. I'm going to say no.
Why? Well, before we all jump down your throat and punch you in the face.
All right, so the reason I'm going to say no is because I think it's going to take more than 1 year for them to figure out the shots. Okay. So Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, they say they share the ball, and they do. But if you look at the numbers, the actual numbers, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson still take like 40 to 50% of those shots.
So you think it's going to be an ego thing? Ultimately, it's going to be that.
It may not even be an ego thing. It might be a mathematical thing.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the ball in what situation? Now, for them, I'm sure it'll be easy, right? Maybe. But maybe not. Maybe there is a little bit of ego. Let's be honest. Kevin Durant is used to being either the one or when Russell Westbrook is on, the number 2, right? So, being the number 3 or being
Kevin Durant, he's won a championship already.
No.
Never.
Kevin Durant's
okay, so I feel like if Kevin Durant, and this goes back to what you were saying earlier, right?
Yeah.
Him being villainized and so forth, right? He's taking a pay cut to go join this other team. I think he's going to have the sense to go in there and be like, listen. Defer it.
You think so?
Yeah. I think so.
So, I would tend
would
to
hope
agree
so
with you.
because...
Yeah.
that would be really stupid if that's not the case.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Stephen Curry, right?
Yeah.
He's on that team.
Steph Curry, yeah.
Whatever. He's on that team, right? So I would think that he would go in there and be like, okay, you're good, I'm good. Let's win some championships.
And that's what they're saying.
Because you get some endorsement deals, and let's be honest, that's where the money comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Sponsorships.
And that's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. They're saying all publicly, we're going to share the ball and whatnot.
I mean, from my own personal work experience,
Mhm.
yes, I will go and work with another team or group or whatever, and I'll know who the best of the best is, right? But I'm not going to go in there to overshow the best of the best. You want to use the best of the best to help you get what it is that you want, which in this sounds like for KD,
It's a
'cause
championship.
we're close like that.
KD, that's his
KD?
nickname. Because call him KD.
Or the
Anyway,
tarantula. That's my favorite.
his ultimate goal is championship, right?
Yeah, sure.
He's gonna go in there and be like, yo, you're good, I'm good. Let's make a pie together.
Make a
call
pie.
it-
So
it's called
it is
championship.
hard in the NBA though, right? Because
Mhm.
the NBA is all about scoring, and you now have 3 of the top, arguably 5 scorers in the NBA on the same team, and
Probably not 5, but top.
I mean,
You can
Clay,
make an argument for top 10. I
yeah.
think.
So
Clay's up
Clay
there.
is a scorer.
Yeah, no, he's
You
a
know?
scorer, but
Yeah.
he
He's a
suffers
three-point
because he's
shooter.
playing with for
So
sure.
if you're
So it'll be
smart,
interesting to
if you're the coach, right?
You're correct.
Stephen Kerr.
If you're that guy
That
and you're like,
lucky.
oh, I've got 3 of the best shooters, that means there is
Literally.
no half of any game at any point in the season that you don't have one of them out there.
Absolutely.
Of course, yeah.
And by that default, like if you can set it up in such a way that they're consistently rotating, you can allow them to do their thing and never actually play at the exact same time.
So in crunch time, you want all of them,
Yeah.
but
Of
you're
course,
absolutely right.
of course.
But you're absolutely right. That's the way it's going to work, right? For second
Yeah.
unit, you're absolutely right. There's no reason
Mhm.
one of them can't be on there. Granted, you manage their minutes right, and you don't have injuries
Oh, it's a
throwing
cricket.
your rotations off, right?
Right.
I just think it's going to take a little bit of adjustment, and I mean, I don't have a whole lot of evidence to say that other teams got better because I don't think other teams.
I
did
would
get
I
that
would
much
say
better.
this,
but
yeah.
I think it's going to take more than a year.
I don't think it will. We have this thing called iPads and
which they
analytic.
use.
They, well,
Yeah,
actually,
analytics.
To be we have analytics.
Sure.
Analytics by its default, that's gonna help them push to that level and get. I don't think it will take a season. I think we will see next
Immediately,
season a Warriors team come in and just be like, all right, you know what? Screw this. Everyone else just quit.
Well, I'm surprised to say this, but I actually agree with Ravi.
Yeah.
I do think,
Oh, yeah.
I do think the
I'm surprised to say.
Dottie. Da.
so no, I do think the Warriors are going to do it because I think in the NBA more than any other league, talent rises, right?
Yes.
Talent wins out, and you have 4 of the top, arguably 15 players on this team. There's gonna be a way to figure this out. I know. And I think your concerns are valid for sure.
Mhm.
Who's the scoring and all that, but and sure they might struggle early in the season. Are they gonna win 73 games?
Hell no.
No, they're gonna win 65.
I should have changed my argument to will they win?
73 games again?
Well, no, that's me. Will they win 70 games? Because that's a better argument.
No, I don't think so. I would say no because I
I
think
don't think
there will be some
I don't
growing
think
pains.
we'll see any kind of like record breaking statistics, but I do at the very
You're
least.
just saying they have
I
enough
see
offensive firepower to get them through a playoffs.
at least to the playoffs.
And well, no, they're going to get to the playoffs. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not a question,
Yeah.
right? The question is, can they win the championship? And obviously, they're the odds-on favorite for a reason. I'm going to say no, they don't win.
There's a lot of
And I don't have very logical
No, but
arguments to
there
back
are
that up.
compelling arguments. First off, okay, I mean Golden
Their depth,
State
right?
didn't win last year.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
And weren't they the top picks for last year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they had the record. They had the most regular season wins. They went 70,
They beat
73 and 9.
They beat the Bulls.
So let's
Yeah.
let's put on our conspiracy hats real quick. Do we truly believe there is some kind of higher power that's determining who wins the games
Adam Silver?
based on analytics, advertising deals, and so forth?
So people speculate
People have
that
said
that's
that.
what could
Well,
have
people
happened.
have definitely said
But
that.
the problem with the Warriors last year was Steph Curry wasn't 100%, didn't play that well in the playoffs. Draymond was then suspended for a game in the finals. Kind of messed up their rhythm. They were up 3-1, they couldn't close it, and they lost that lead in the finals. They lost 3 straight games to the Cavs.
This is what I want to see, right? So they had to let Andrew Bogut go, right?
Yes.
So it looks like they're the only real big guy on the roster is Anderson Varejao, who used to be good.
They're a small team.
They're a small team. I think the best way to attack them is you go big.
Yeah, absolutely.
An athletic big man. Now, obviously, I say go big. How many teams can actually do that? Not too many. Well, I mean, like,
almost none.
You're right. And Draymond Green actually matches up with most of them. But, and I'm going to use this, as an example. I'm not saying this is ever going to happen because I don't believe it will. But, like, if Embiid becomes sort of the athletic, the really big athletic guy that we think he can be.
Sure.
He by himself would give Golden State problems, right?
Right.
Offensive rebounding, defensive rebounding. Rudy Gobert of the Jazz, another really long, center who I think can beat them up inside.
Or let's even go with our team, the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
So, we have Al Horford now.
Yeah.
And let's say we keep and we hold on to Kelly Olynyk and he kind of continues developing the way he has been.
That's two guys who can play the five who can stretch the floor.
Those are two big guys you could put on the field at the same time that could give Golden State problems. Now, I'm not saying the Celtics are going to be able to do that.
That's a lot of lanes to drive, you would think. So, yeah.
Right. Because Olynyk's not the best rebounder in the world.
Right.
He has injury problems and whatever. But,
Horford too.
Right. If a team can do that, yeah, you could certainly give them problems. Are they an immortal team? No. But
DeMarcus Cousins, actually, if he could find a healthy situation, I feel like the way to beat the next year's Warriors team, athletic big man who can rebound, who can put the ball in the basket, and is a good passer. And bonus is to stretch the floor.
Good.
Not many big men can do that. But,
All right. So to my debate question now. So a story we didn't mention in the headlines that I do want to mention now as it relates to my debate.
Yes.
Peyton Manning was accused of using HGH and performance-enhancing drugs.
Peyton Manning, your
Peyton
idol.
Manning,
He's not my idol.
He's your idol.
The Denver Broncos quarterback just retired this last year, went out on top, won Super Bowl 50, blah, 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 blah. Today he was exonerated by the NFL.
For his crimes of using a performance-enhancing drug.
They said they found no evidence.
So they just dropped the case.
He was not guilty.
Move on.
Dropped.
Sure.
Interesting.
Which arguably, which has brought up the debate,
Uh-huh.
did Peyton Manning get off lightly while Tom Brady did not?
Wait, back up a second. They didn't find any evidence.
They didn't find any evidence for Deflategate.
Yeah, but with Deflategate, at least, though, there was, like...
The text messages?
There's the text messages, the deleting, that stuff, and they use it as political gains. With Peyton Manning, what do they have to get? He retired, so end it.
So the evidence they had against Peyton Manning was the intern from Indianapolis, who did recant his story.
Interns don't mean anything. Keep going.
Neither do ball boys.
I was an intern.
Yeah, but
I
ball
got
boys
literally
don't mean...
nothing.
Don't mean
What do ball
interns,
boys who
ball
are
boys.
nothing?
daytime employees? Exactly.
Nothing.
So that's
That
a
was
wash. That's a wash.
That was a wash. You had the fact that Al Jazeera reported that Peyton Manning...
Wait, back up. I'm sorry. This is completely off topic. Al Jazeera reports on the NFL?
Al Jazeera is a news outlet.
No, I understand that, but they actually take the time to report on the NFL?
They don't report on anything. They did an investigative
If it's a story, they'll do it.
They're the ones that kind of brought the story more forward.
Excellent. Good for them. Can if anyone wants to be in our podcast, they can.
Absolutely.
No other news networks. I don't like any of the other ones. Anyway, sorry.
But they found that HGH was sent to the Manning household in his wife's name.
Yeah, so maybe she needs it because she wants to get buff. Oh.
But so there's still quote unquote circumstantial evidence. There were other things. People being followed by private investigators by Peyton Manning. There was that type of story of Peyton Manning's private investigators kind of bullying this intern's family and whatnot, which had single stories were kind of held under. The NFL statement on it was that the Manning family fully cooperated, right? And that is the difference there, obviously.
They're backing him, but to be fair...
Well, hold on a second,
sure.
right? So, Peyton Manning, in many media outlets' eyes, he did the right thing, and, Tom Brady didn't, and that's why he got busted.
Wait, the right thing?
What is the
by
right
being
thing?
quote unquote
How is cheating the right thing?
No, by fully cooperating and doing the interviews and whatnot. However, there's a few differences here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Peyton Manning is a retired player. He's
right.
no longer part of a players' association, a union. Tom Brady was asked to set a different precedent that would, as he is a top player,
mm-hmm.
apply to every other player. by handing over his entire cell phone.
Right.
Look at our cell phones right now, right? They are iPhones. They do not just have text messages.
Whoa. They're just smartphones. We don't want to...
Okay, they are smartphones.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Okay, most of us have smartphones,
Thank
right?
you.
Which have...
Legal to team.
which have the majority of our lives on here. It's not just text messages. We have photos. We have videos. We have various apps with
Personal
a lot
information.
of personal
Sensitive
information,
Yeah.
sensitive information. Personally, do I blame Tom Brady for not wanting to hand over his cell phone?
I would never give my personal phone to my employer. Ever.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly. No more needs to be said on that. So Tom Brady did not do that and was villainized and whatever
Right.
and whatnot.
Right.
Peyton Manning is no longer part of this union. He's no longer part of this.
Wait, so I have to bring something up because
Sure.
I work in an industry where this does come up quite a bit,
Sure.
actually. Was his phone that they were asking for, was it given out by the Patriots or by the NFL Network?
No, it's his personal.
It's his
his
own
cell
personal phone.
So from start to end, he paid for the data, the usage.
Yes, that's his phone.
He paid for the physical phone
Yes.
itself. Okay, then he did nothing wrong.
Okay.
Everyone's an idiot. Keep going.
And just to add to that,
Alright.
he sent every single page of the text that they wanted from the phone to them.
Yeah, but you can, you can Photoshop
Come
that. I've done that. It's very easy. I'll show you the app. Check it out. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, besides that though,
Mm-hmm.
the problem that a lot of players have with Manning is with the interviews and all that. A lot of other players in the NFL, current players, are being also accused of HGH and PED use, and they're not happy that Peyton Manning was so, open to doing these interviews that kind of dictated his life and whatnot. Because it now sets a precedent that they have to do it, despite them being in training camp, training for football, wanting to focus on football, and whatnot, and it becomes again a labor issue. So is now the NFL trying to use Peyton Manning's situation of like, hey, Peyton Manning did this,
You all have to do this.
he's
too.
free. Tom Brady did this, which is what you all want, and he has to been suspended for 4 games.
That's sketchy.
What does that tell? I mean, these are the two. This is 1A and 1B of players in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Famers, top 5 of all time, blah 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 blah. And now you have these two contradicting cases, which has been now kind of been painted this
Well,
way.
I guess my question is, okay, so I'm a player. I'm in training camp. Some reporter or somebody wants to do an interview with me.
Sure.
Do I get paid for the interview?
No.
Why don't I get paid for the interview?
You have a contract. That's all you get paid for. Or
So I'm
whatever.
salaried then.
Yeah, that's exactly what you are.
Okay, so.
But for your contract, you normally you have to do a certain amount of interviews that you're required by the team, and the team will set that up for you. You don't personally do that.
Okay, so
your team and your
so
agent will set up
is
those
the
interviews.
question then that he did these interviews outside of that setup and so forth based off the team?
So,
Yeah, because he was retired.
well, he was retired. He's not a player.
So you're
he did it
saying
by himself.
you're saying that the precedent has been set that me, the player, I can be required by who? The NFL or by the news network?
The NFL.
The NFL.
The NFL to be interviewed about this situation. Outside of my
Is that actually what happened though? Is that what's going to happen? So Peyton Manning did it.
Sure.
Is it going to be? Is the NFL going to require players to do that?
I'm not sure. So all I know is players like James Harrison and Clay Matthews have been are being investigated for PED use. James Harrison said, "Yes, I will do an interview, but it has to be on my terms.
Yeah.
It has to be at my house at these specific dates."
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Because he wants to bring them over for pizza night. Nothing wrong with that.
but the problem that they're now saying with Peyton Manning is he let the NFL dictate where it was, when it was. Now, does that affect the players? Now, if the NFL says, I want you to do the interview on the week of the Game 3 preseason game, which means you can't play. Does that affect your if you're a bubble player? I mean, James Harrison, Clay Matthews are not bubble players, but if you have a player who's lower on the roster, who's fighting for a roster spot, and now has to be summoned to go to New York. Let's say if they're a San Francisco 49er player, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they play on the West Coast. They have to go to New York. That's a whole day, 2-day trip or whatever to talk about this allegation that may or may not be true. And the NFL has decided it's on this day, even if it's a practice, right? And you're fighting for a roster spot. You miss that time. You don't make the team now. You're unemployed.
So I was just gonna say.
labor
So I clearly agree with you, but I have to play devil's advocate. And Bradley is gonna.
I think I'm playing the
devil's
devil's advocate too.
So the thing is, The NFL is your employer. It's voluntary employment.
Yep.
They don't have to employ you.
Yep.
They dictate the terms.
And that's with any employer.
Sure.
Like with my own employer, if there's
and I hate that. I
hate that too. But you know, corporations run the world at this point, and it's like, what is it they consistently say? Oh, be thankful you have a job. And you know what? The NFL, unfortunately, can say the exact same thing to them. So the players, at the end of the day, yes, they can be pissed off and angry, and a lot of people in the working industry are in the exact same boat. It may not be this high level and so forth, but it is a consistent and constant thing that keeps being brought up. You are, and I use this term lightly, I'm not going to actually say it. You are responsible and you are required to do what your employer says. And it's because they are paying you, and they can legally. It's been done in all industries that I know of. They can honestly change it at the drop of a dime.
But there's a union, though. I mean, but the corollary to it is that's the whole point of unions, is to protect the workers. And the NFL has a union. The NFL plays a union.
And to be fair, the NFL Network, they are insanely lucky to have a union. There are so many industries. The NFL, right. There are so many other industries that do not have unions.
Right.
And I understand that, you know, these may be trying times and so forth. But, you know, if there's a doping scandal, you know, especially the ones that are taking it that shouldn't be taking it, I think it's fair. Weed them out. Sure, you're going to have to take down, you know, innocent people, quote unquote, or whatever. People may lose opportunities. But at the end of the day, you get the ones that are actually doing it for whatever reason, and you can make everything as a whole better.
Yeah.
But like you said, NFL is the employer.
Yeah.
They are within some legal precedent to do this.
Of course.
Yeah. They can change it how they want. A player or a union is only there to act as the buffer in between.
Absolutely. And to fight for the rights as much as they can.
As much as they can. But, you know,
within the CBA.
Unions in the United States, and this is a bigger non-sports issue, but unions in the United States, they're basically a thing of the past. The ones that are left are slowly
Actually, that's not
disappearing.
That's not entirely true. So, as an aside, there are certain industries where the unions still have more power than the actual employers. I'm not going to name the industries.
Oops.
I'm not going to name the industries because I don't want to get anyone in trouble or anything. But there's a couple. You're right.
Yeah.
There's only a couple left that have enormous power.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's not going to change anytime soon. Very interesting. I'm not going to name the industries.
All right.
So we'll move on now.
Yeah. So that's the end of debate time. Now we're going to get into our second to last section, which we call the top three. Pretty quick but fun kind of thing. Everyone loves rankings. We rank. Krishna and I go through and we rank three things, or top three of some type of category. We'll start with Krishna's category for this week.
Oh, yes. I kind of threw this together last minute. Regular season quarterbacks of the 2016, 2017, 2017 NFL season. Yes. I actually just changed mine because I forgot about one of the quarterbacks. Sorry, I'm a horrible sports person.
You forgot about Rodgers.
I forgot about Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, sorry. So my top three quarterbacks for next season, I think, are Russell Wilson, number 1, Andy Dalton, number 2, and Aaron Rodgers, number 3. I'm dropping Cam Newton off of there. I think he was, maybe regarded as the top quarterback last season.
Regular season. I mean, he was the regular season MVP.
I would usually put Tom Brady in the top 3, but he is missing the first 4 games, so I can't, in good conscience, put him in the top 3. I'm going with Russell Wilson, number 1. I like, I don't think correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think his offense has changed too much around him.
And he's getting Jimmy Graham back.
And there isn't any. I don't think there's a huge drop off at running back. I know Marshawn Lynch retired, but I think Rawls is the real deal.
Yeah.
He might make his life even easier. Who knows? So I'm going with Russell Wilson, number 1. I'm going with Andy Dalton, number 2. He was doing so well before he got injured last year. I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. Unless all of a sudden you're going to come up and tell me that his injury is still lingering.
Well, my disagreement with Dalton is he's lost a lot of his pass catchers. He lost Sanu.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost a lot of that depth. I mean, he still has AJ Green, but AJ Green's going to be a true number 1 guy there now. Be interesting to see how that goes.
AJ Green wasn't always a true number 1.
I mean, to a degree, but he always had the benefit of having some more guys around that would take some pressure off of him.
Sure.
And AJ Green to me has always been a little bit overrated. He gets a lot of his stats in bunches. and whatnot. I think he's a good receiver. Do I think he's a true number one? No.
I think he is.
I don't think he is.
So I'm gonna hardly disagree with you.
Sure.
AJ Green is number one. All receivers go through little stretches.
I don't think it's a little stretch. I think in the most dominant games when he goes against good teams and whatnot, he's not that good.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. That's the knock on Dalton. Dalton's falling off there. He's the one not getting the ball out. You know. Well, they still have Tyler Eifert. You still have Giovanni.
I
still
love
have
Tyler
Giovanni
Eifert.
Bernard out the backfield.
Overrated for sure.
He can still catch the ball and he can still make moves. He's still a playmaker. He's his third year. I think it's his third or fourth year.
Yeah, it's longer than that.
So maybe he develops a little bit.
I mean,
I
also think that division gets tougher. I mean, with the Ravens getting all their players back essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Steelers are going to be missing Le'Veon Bell and Bryant and some other players, but I do think that division will be tougher. I think Dalton's injury will be there. I just don't agree with you on the number two. And then number three, you have
I have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he took a step back clearly last year.
He was still good though.
He was still good. And
he still threw 36 touchdowns.
Guess what? He's still in my top three.
There you go.
You know, he'll still be good. I just don't think I think maybe. It probably is premature to say this. Aaron Rodgers, could easily be number one. It's not even close. But
so to start my list, actually, I have Aaron Rodgers number one.
Yeah.
He had a lot of injuries to his pass catchers. I still think he was really, he was good last year. Really put that team on his back. Still won a playoff game. Despite one of the more injured teams in the NFL. I don't think that, with Manning gone pretty much in those first 4 games, I don't think there's any question he's number one. Number two, Russell Wilson. There was no quarterback better than him after week 8 or 9. Pretty much after Jimmy Graham went down, actually. Even though they had started to open up Graham more to what he was doing, and I think Wilson gets even better with a healthy Graham and them knowing a year in now how to utilize him and whatnot.
And I think the entire offense is coming back pretty much unchanged, right?
Except for Marshawn Lynch.
Which is a huge part, obviously. But
who wasn't good last year, to be honest.
Okay.
He wasn't. He didn't do anything. And then number 3, a surprise.
I actually like that pick.
So I picked Derek Carr. I'm a big Derek Carr fan. Quarterback of the Oakland Raiders. The reason I pick him...
Go Derek Carr.
I love the weapons they have there. They have, Crabtree... A lot of offensive weapons. There's a lot to name. I think the AFC is weak this year. I think it's for the opening, and especially in the AFC West, where those Raiders subside, are the Broncos, the defending Super Bowl champions, potentially have Mark Sanchez as their starting quarterback right now.
I'm sorry,
Don't
Broncos.
believe in that. They had a great defense last year. Defenses are really year to year.
Unless you're the Seahawks.
Unless you're the Seahawks. But I don't know. That has a lot of players on that defense that are like 29, 30, 31, which in the NFL, when you hit 30, it's not a gradual decline. You hit a wall and you're done.
Generally speaking.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys on that defense, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, DeMarcus Ware, all those type of players who are kind of in that same mix where you're just like, especially at corner. Corner's a dangerous place to have that. TJ Ward, just a lot of players who are just kind of in their prime, but their prime can go out really quick. So I think potentially Derek Carr playing in a weakened division, in a weakened AFC, no Peyton Manning, no Tom Brady for the first 4 weeks. Some of those divisions are really a joke.
Maybe takes the reins a little
I
bit.
think the Raiders could really take the
I really
reins.
like Derek Carr. I actually really like that pick.
So those are my kind of picks.
Oh, really interesting. Got to point out,
Yeah.
Cam Newton's not the top 3 for either of us.
Yeah, so
very interesting.
Well, I think Cam Newton had a great year last year, and he is getting Kelvin Benjamin back this year.
Yep.
But I think the Panthers had the kind of magical run last year where they won a lot of games in a lot of different ways.
Well, Cam Newton himself, though, right? I mean, he was good.
He was great.
Yeah,
he was certainly great, but I also think you have now a year where defensive coordinators are focusing on him.
Yeah.
He is the reigning MVP. There's a different level of focus on Cam Newton than there were in previous years. And I think Cam Newton's a great quarterback. If I did a top 5 list, he would be in there. He'd probably be number 4 for me. But he's right there. I just don't think he's in that top 3.
Cool.
And I think it's just it's hard to repeat an MVP year. So now onto my top 3 real quick. We've mentioned the Red Sox a little bit, but so far, the Red Sox have put together a nice season, and I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on, because we've seen a lot of Red Sox games. Who are your top Red Sox players in 2016? And now this is a hard list to make.
Yeah.
You have five players on the Red Sox who are hitting over 300. 5.
Mm-hmm.
You have a knuckleballer who, for large parts of the season, has been a Cy Young candidate.
He's been their best pitcher.
You've had a pitcher who had such a god-awful year last year and who has had such a revitalization this year and has been a big part of your rotation.
Porcello.
Porcello. So there are a lot of candidates there. So I'll start. Well, actually, you start with your list.
Okay. So my top Red Sox players in 2016, I've got David Ortiz at number 1.
And I think that's pretty. Universal across the board.
I mean, they have a great. Are they the best offense in the league? Are they scoring the most runs?
Yeah.
David Ortiz is a huge reason why, and he's age 40. He's going to retire next year. He has the most home runs on the team. He has the most RBIs on the team.
And
he's just killing.
He's top 1 or 2 in every major offensive category in the AL. He could win the AL MVP.
Yeah, he's in the conversation, which is crazy.
For sure.
I mean, I personally don't think he'll win because he's DH, doesn't play defense, but he's in the conversation, which is amazing. If he does win, even better.
Sure.
I would love for him to win. Number 2, I've got Stephen Wright.
Yeah.
He's the knuckleballer. He's been incredible. His knuckleball is just something to watch. It has it's like faster than Tim Wakefield's. It has late movement. It's at times it is completely unhittable. It's ridiculous, and he has great command on it.
And he has some good secondary pitches too.
Yeah.
He doesn't throw the Wakefield threw the knuckleball a lot.
Like 92%.
Right. A lot. So
absurd.
So Wright will mix in a slow fastball, essentially 80 something miles.
And a curveball.
A curveball sometimes,
Yeah.
and so he mixes in that well enough where he can get deeper into outings, 6, 7, 8, 9 innings.
Yeah.
And I think, and so my first 2 are the same as your lists. Stephen Wright has saved the Red Sox rotation at this point. David Price has been a disappointment.
Yes.
And Wright has been truly your ace. I mean, those first few months, he sub 2, sub 1 ERA, going 6, 7, 8 innings, saving your bullpen when other guys, especially your 4 or 5 starters for the Red Sox, who are only lasting 2 or 3 innings, giving up a lot of runs. I mean, this guy has been an automatic win for a lot of weeks, and even though the last few weeks he's kind of fallen off for a little bit, giving up a few more runs, he is still going to be one of your guys. If you make the playoffs, one of your top 3 guys. He has to be the way he's been playing, and I don't see it drastically falling off for him. And then your number 3.
My number 3, I actually have Mookie Betts. Number 3 is really hard because we have a young trio of players who have eerily, like, at least they're in the same tier of stats.
Absolutely.
Similar averages, similar OPS. I put Mookie because he's, first of all, he's 23 years old. He is doing really well. He's hitting 307. He's got 20 home runs. He's got 63 ribbies. And he's playing outstanding defense. He has 1 error on the year, which is he plays in right field. Yeah, but that's astounding. That's great. I think he's a Gold Glove candidate easily. He has 1 error on the year. Obviously, I don't know a whole lot about
he probably is
defense.
Going to be the only Golden Glover on the Red Sox.
So his offense combined with his defense, I'm going to put him as my number 3.
So I mean, Mookie's hard to leave off, but I had to go Xander. For me, the way he's played shortstop, the way he's commanded it, the leadership role he's taken on. Well, it's just the little things you see. Him going up to the pitcher and saying a couple words. Him, helping Pedroia line that infield. He's also, got one of the best averages on the team, 332. Power numbers aren't that. He's never been a power guy, 11 home runs, but 61 RBIs, OBP of 386. There's no wrong answer.
Yeah, you could put JBJ in there. You'd be okay with that.
mean,
He's patrolling center field
sure.
like Ken Griffey Jr., let's be honest.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
right, he's always had the glove. He's put the offense together this year.
Yeah.
He was the best hitter in baseball.
Yeah, honestly, those 3 guys,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Like, I feel like we're so lucky to have
That
those
should
3
be your
guys.
core for the next 5-10 years.
Get them locked up for 10. Jesus.
I mean, and then the biggest surprise that aren't even in those 3 to me for the whole season for the Red Sox, Hanley Ramirez.
Yeah,
he's hitting around 283, on average. He had 5 home runs this last week, named AL Player of the Week.
That's part of it. This is astounding for us to say because I think we were both, when it was first announced, we were both cringing. He's
both
playing
laughed.
outstanding defense
base.
at first base.
Absolutely.
I didn't see that coming. Well, I saw little clips of him doing it. And I was like, oh man, he's actually making some good plays. So as soon as I saw him in training camp doing it, I was like, okay, I thought he would be passable. I didn't think he'd be good. But he's turned out to be good. I think
Hanley's been good.
he's been good.
And it's been a night and just to kind of wrap up the whole top three with the Reds and with the Red Sox. I mean, it's been a nice year offensively, but I mean they still have a way. They're not number one in the division despite all that. They're number two behind the Orioles.
Baltimore.
You know, Baltimore, Boston, Toronto.
Pesky Baltimore.
Well, it's Baltimore, Toronto, and Boston that are all right there.
Yeah.
And one of those teams are not going to make it. I'm sure one of them will get a wild card. I can't see both getting a wild card spot unless some other teams drop off in the AL. But they just got to keep it going. They got to kind of solidify their pitching, both in the rotation and at the bullpen.
Yeah, some of those bullpen. So I know you said Kimbrel, you don't mind having come back, but I think for the very reason that it's so close, I think getting him back, and if he's good to go, obviously you never want to sacrifice the guy's health.
Yeah.
If he's good to go though, you got to get him back because August is obviously critical.
August and
just like
September.
September,
Yeah,
but like
absolutely.
In August, you know what you want to do? You don't want to fall behind.
Yeah.
So Kimbrel coming back is critical.
And the Red Sox have a big stretch of I think it's something like 40 games in 39 days or something.
That's absurd.
They have 2 11-game road trips without a break.
So, gotta get Kimbrel
there's a lot. They're going to be playing a lot of games in August and September.
Yeah.
And they need to be as healthy as possible. They need as many enforcements as possible.
Mm.
So that's it for top 3. We're going to our last section of our podcast show, sports show, variety comedy show.
Is it a variety comedy show?
Could be. It's called Ravi's Queries, but we might change that to Ravi Asks.
Or the hairy dude.
So Ravi, any questions
Wonders.
you have sports related?
So I have a question.
Go to
You
us.
guys didn't bring up anything about the MMA at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so done with MMA, but you're absolutely right. There are some big stories
There's
there.
a ton of stories out there.
UFC. So we'll touch on them real quick then,
Yeah.
right? So UFC was sold.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so it was sold. So they I think the Fertitta brothers owned it, and they sold it for
It was $1 billion,
an
right?
astronomical amount of
It was
money.
a lot. It was more than most people thought.
They're
it was
keeping the biggest news of that is they're keeping Dana White as doing what he does,
right.
as master promoter. In fact, I think he got a pay bump, so good for him. He's still there. He is though, like him, hate him or love him. He is the most important part of the organization in terms of selling the product, like marketing and selling the product. But yeah, so the sale. What else? Misha Tate lost. John Bones
Failed another test.
failed the test, so pulled out. He's probably suspended for 2 years. Daniel Cormier had to fight Silver instead. Anderson Silva, he won. Cormier is kind of done with the whole rivalry with Bones because guess what? Bones hasn't got his act together. Bones will go down as a supremely talented fighter who should have been in the conversation for best ever, and he won't because of all the stupid
Stuff he does.
Yeah.
all the stupid mess ups.
And 2 of his brothers actually play in the NFL. Chandler Jones, Patriot, who's traded in the
Patriot player,
offseason.
Oh, so they probably punched. Never mind. Anyway.
Yeah, so UFC,
Yeah.
a lot going on, but yeah, I just didn't.
Right.
Okay. What about NASCAR? You guys don't like? You used to love NASCAR, so why?
I used to follow a little bit. I'm a huge Dale Earnhardt fan. I actually don't know anything about what's going on in the last few years. The championship changes that they made to that format were really interesting. Unfortunately, I didn't get to check that out as much as I wanted to. Dale Earnhardt, though, real quick, I did see a thing that he's injured, so I don't think he's racing at the moment, which is really sad because I like Dale Earnhardt.
And then the other big one, the EA Games curse.
The Madden cover. That's right.
Well, not only just the Madden cover, but like we saw the UFC women's, the UFC men's
Oh,
games.
That's right.
I didn't even think about that.
There was also
McGregor
the,
and
there was also
Rousey.
the NBA curse on EA Games as well.
Okay,
Going
didn't
into
see
the
that
new
one.
season, they haven't obviously announced yet the NFL cover.
No, they did. It's Rob Gronkowski from the
So,
Patriots.
that's right. So,
Yes.
what's the theory there? Do we think he's gonna get injured?
Well,
No!
Well, actually, the nice thing about the NFL cover curse is it's kind of subsided the last few years. Odell Beckham, I believe, was on last year, and he had
He was
a great
healthy.
year.
He was healthy.
So
So
I guess we'll see.
We'll
I
see.
mean, the problem, the thing with the curse, I don't actually believe in the curse. The problem with the curse, or why it's called
too
the curse.
coincidental.
Well, it's not even coincidental, especially in like sports, right? The reason these guys are going on are because they've had statistical great,
Years.
magnificent years,
Right.
right? There's always a natural drop off from that.
Right. You can never go
yeah.
beyond like
And most of the time, that is actually what it is. It's just a slight statistical drop off, or a back to the average,
or a freak injury.
And sometimes, and there have been a couple
more
of cases.
More than a couple of freak
There've been a
injuries,
few in the NFL.
Yeah.
With Gronkowski, it was interesting that they picked him. He had a good year last year, but it wasn't his best statistically of all his years.
Right.
But he's been doing a great job of branding himself.
Yeah,
It's all facial recognition.
He certainly has. So we'll see.
He
is injury prone. There's no doubt about it. So
I think anybody in the NFL is injury prone.
But he is more so than others. He played 10 games in 2 seasons at one point. So
sure,
we shall see.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Any other questions?
That's pretty much all I got.
Cool. All right, Chewy.
All
I
right,
think that's it.
I think
that's our first episode.
That was
the
first episode.
So that's it. That's the lateral.
Hope you liked it.
I think we got a lot of good topics and debate in there.
I like real quick observation. I like how there was a lot of political stuff in there.
Yeah.
Well, I liked how you were able to bring in some of your HR expertise.
This is basically a representation of the political climate right now with Hillary versus Clinton.
Hillary versus Clinton. Well, that's
Hillary versus herself.
Spoilers. I meant Hillary versus Trump. God damn it.
No, Hillary versus Clinton.
Wait, I was like, spoilers for her versus Bill at some point? I'm like,
the inner battle, the inner turmoil. Anyway. So, but yeah, that is our first lateral episode. Let us know what you think. Comment on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter.
Disagree with us. It's sports.
Disagree with us. Right.
What it's all about.
Sports is all about debate. It's all about a couple guys in a bar
drinking
some beers, and being like, "Who's your
beer?
You
want a beer? You want a beer? You want a beer? I'll buy you. You want a beer?
Who's your top quarterback of all time?" And then you can get into a 3-hour debate of like, I'm banging the table for Tom Brady, you're going Joe Montana, and you're going old school for Johnny Unitas. Who knows? There's no right answer.
I would not see that coming from you, Eddie. I'm impressed.
I have no idea who that
is.
I just keep saying Johnny Unitas.
John, whatever.
All
right.
But yeah, so we'll be back next Monday. We're going to keep this as our Monday show, especially as the NFL season starts.
Yeah.
We'll be kind of coming off the back end of Monday Night Football and reflecting on those games. And we'll be talking about baseball, obviously, as we're getting into the postseason and the start of basketball in the NHL in October and November. And we'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll touch. Obviously, when I keep tabs on the Olympics,
Yep.
Ravi brought up a good point. We're definitely gonna touch on the UFC. I mean,
UFC.
it's big. It's a big thing now, so you can't just ignore it.
MMA, I mean everything. Soccer worldwide. We have the FIFA World Cup coming up in 2 years. We just had the Euro Cup wrap up.
That's true.
So
the Euro Cup was quite.
Boo Portugal!
Yeah.
Boo Portugal! I hate you, Portugal.
I think they earned it though.
Oh yeah, well, it was
they earned
the most
it.
boring way to do it. But
right.
Yeah, they earned it.
When I saw it, they earned it.
They earned it, but
it was a bad final. But it was they earned it.
They got it.
They did
it.
So. They did it.
But that's it for all of us. Tune in next week, and then as always, we have the Luzo Cast on Sundays, and check Luzo Productions. We'll be having sketches, more Luzo reviews, more convention stuff, always coming out.
Check our Vine.
Check our
Facebook.
Vine too.
Check
Facebook.
Check under the bed because
maybe
you could have left your, Roomba
underwear
or something stuck under there, and you need to get it out.
Exactly.
So.
And so for Krishna, producer Ravi, and myself, Arjuna,
producer Ravi. I like that.
This has been The Lateral.
The Lateral.
Just so you know that's totally going on my LinkedIn in like 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
What's that? Lateral?